If you've ever wondered what it takes to build a world-class software engineering team, then this is the episode for you. In today's episode of the Brains Byte Back podcast, we speak with Sashank Purighalla, founder and CEO of BOS Framework, a complete solution to build, migrate, and manage cloud applications and environments. Sashank talks about his backstory, explaining how he came to the US to study for a master's in robotics, but ended up staying, and has since lived in Alabama, Philadelphia, and now resides in Nashville. He also opens up about why he decided to pick Nashville as a base to launch BOS Framework over other cities he considered, such as Denver, Raleigh, and Austin. Additionally, Sashank shares how BOS Framework was able to reduce one client's spending from over $1 million to $200K, thanks to the cloud solutions company powering its infrastructure. Moreover, Sashank breaks down his perspective on the psychology that motivates engineers and shares examples of how to motivate them to be as happy and productive as possible in their work and output. One example of this is the idea that they need to work in something they feel is larger than themselves. And finally, Sashank shares why engineers love problem solving and how encouraging this is important in order to motivate and develop a strong team of engineers. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Disclosure: this episode contains a client of an Espacio portfolio company.
So thank you for having me over, Sam. My name is Sashank Purighalla. I'm the founder and CEO of BOS. And what we do is, I'll give you a little story, that way you understand. We are a cloud enablement platform. And what we do is we help companies save a lot of time and money on their cloud initiatives, including long-term management. One of the companies that we work with, for example, was spending over $1 million on their cloud management, including their cloud bills, the people that were working on it, as well as the other software that they were using. It took us about 4 months, Sam, to layer all that on BOS and basically have BOS power their cloud infrastructure, and now they spend less than $200,000. So we can bring substantial efficiencies, and that's what we do.
Awesome. Fantastic. Well, it's great to see that you do have that solid value add. And I would be curious to know how it all began. Like, how did it go from an idea or conception to becoming what it is today?
Sure. I've been doing technology for a very long time now. BOS is the third startup. My second startup was a development shop which focused exclusively on building software products, this brand new products, or next generation products for companies in the regulated space. We were building it for various countries across the globe in several industries. One of the things that happened during that period was we started finding that we're doing the same thing again and again in terms of server setup, in terms of ensuring security and compliance, and some baseline functionality that were important for, let's say, authentication, authorization, user management, PII or PHI separation. And we started questioning, why are we doing this over and over without doing it right once and reusing it? After all, that is the goal that everybody in software has, which is that code reuse. But it's not just about code reuse. We were looking at a larger construct that is pervasive across the entire ecosystem, the software, all the layers of the software ecosystem, including the application as well as infrastructure. So we started building a framework for our own internal purposes to ensure that we are able to serve our customers better. And then we finally got it after many, many failed attempts and a lot of refinement over several iterations and several engagements. We got something to work. And then when we finally worked on this massive project that is about 1,800 man-months of work, we got it done in 800 because so much of that was just that repeat rote work. We employed BOS, the then version of BOS, and then we delivered it in less than, we saved them about 1,000 man-months of effort. Then I thought building this as a separate company would be a good idea. And that's how BOS took birth.
Awesome. Excellent. Now, I'm really curious because I want to know what's the name Or what's the story behind the name BOS? Because I'm guessing, like, with the fact that BOS, the BOS is capitalized, is it fair to assume that it's an acronym?
It is. It is. It's an abbreviation to Business Operating System. So that's the acronym. Um, Reason why we called it that is there is, especially in tech-enabled companies, where I'm not talking about tech-based, but tech-enabled companies where technology plays an important role in companies delivering their services to non-developers. Um, there is a very big disconnect invariably between the technology team and the business team. One of the reasons is the misunderstanding that most business people have around how complex and how difficult it is to build technology. And technologists, engineers try to explain in their own way how difficult it is. And they end up taking on a lot of technical debt. And it becomes challenging to clear that over a long span of time. And you enter into other problems around cybersecurity and just not having a very functional product sometimes, resilience issues, availability issues, scalability issues, etc. So we built this to enable those developers to deliver on their business outcomes quickly, effectively, and with dependability. And hence we called it the business operating system.
Okay, that makes sense. I can understand that from that perspective. And this is my next question really here is a bit of a tangent. But I know you are based in Nashville, but originally from India. And now, just like you, I'm living on the other side of the world from my home country. So I absolutely love these stories and they always interest me. So how did you end up going from India to Nashville?
Uh, I've been here in Nashville for about 6.5 years now. India, I did my math, my well, I did my engineering in India back. I finished it in '99, and I wanted to do my master's in robotics. So I came to the US in '99 for my master's. And then I've been here for a very long time. I was in Alabama for 8 years, about 10 years. I was traveling a lot, but I was based in Philly. And then 6 years back, I was looking for a tier two, tier three type city for building BOS as a brand new company. And that's when I decided Nashville would be the place to go.
Awesome. I've been to Nashville a couple of times and I have to say I love it. It's got such a fantastic vibe and a really great energy. So good pick there.
Yeah. And before going to Nashville, Sam, I went to several other cities, including Raleigh and Denver and Austin, Texas, and a few other places. For some reason, this has a certain vibe which I really enjoyed a lot. And I think I was here for the first time. If I remember right, in September and October, the weather was just fantastic. And then I was like, man, this is so good. I think I committed. I did the right thing. I didn't commit a mistake.
Hopefully, you're enjoying the show. And if you are, make sure you subscribe and never miss an episode. You can find us on all your usual podcast sites: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Podcast Addict, and a whole lot more, including YouTube. And we want to hear what you think, so be sure to leave us a review. Just search Brains Byte Back wherever you get your podcasts. I know that you recently published a blog post titled "The Secrets to Building a World-Class Software Engineering Team to Create Cutting-Edge Products." I know you got into this in some detail in the blog, but for listeners who have not read it, could you please share what characteristics make a great engineering team and what makes a strong engineering leader?
Yeah. I'll give you a little, I think, let's just give a little, maybe like a intro to what I'm about to say. Um, we first need to understand engineers before we know how to team them up into a formidable force. Engineers, as you all know, love challenges. They don't mind putting in additional time. I've not seen a single engineer in my whole life ever complain about working extra or working over a weekend. In fact, they do it willingly because they get that dopamine kick, if you will, when they have cracked that difficult problem. And nobody in the world needs to know. It's just them and that computer, and then that little problem they're struggling with that they fix. and they thrive on constant learning. What irks most engineers is if they're not learning and growing. So when you build those teams, the most important thing is to have a group of highly driven engineers that work on a certain mission that they believe is larger than themselves. And they feel it is worth toiling alongside other engineers. And now they become almost like it's like an army battalion where they're working for their brothers and sisters. They're all fighting this battle together. So when you put engineers together, the first thing to understand is the engineers don't like to be given a solution that they code for. They like to be given a problem that they solve. This is important because ultimately they are building for a certain business outcome or for an end user impact. And that user may be a developer, right? But it's ultimately an end user. So understanding that company strategy or that group's strategy and the outcome that is intended has to be very clearly articulated and explained to them. And then they should be given the latitude that's necessary. So they need to understand from their end the strategy or the outcome that's intended, the kind of customer that they're trying to serve. The other important thing in this also for an engineering team, and this also goes into every single engineer, and I've found only a few engineers that are really good at doing this, they need to have some fiduciary responsibility. So I've always taught my team that without understanding what it takes in terms of dollars or the ROI of what they're building, don't put in too much work. And the whole concept of agile also goes into doing work in short blasts. So that fiduciary responsibility is very, very important. So that delivering against that ROI. All of this is ultimately in the service of a customer. So do you understand your customer? The engineering teams must think about that customer experience and deliver against that customer's experience very, very early and often. And in order to do that, they've got to have the right process and the ability to always gather that feedback and collect data, both technical in terms of application logs, in terms of infrastructure logs, in terms of the market metrics that are required, as well as be in constant conversation with the customers. All of this constitutes data. So be able to make those data-driven decisions. And then iterate quickly. When you iterate quickly, when you're delivering constantly, you've got to have a very high level of discipline, because when you are seeking feedback from customers, you obviously don't want to get feedback around how that email is not firing or how somebody is not able to log in. So you don't want to commit fundamental mistakes. So you want to have a system that's actually robust enough to where you're able to chase after the most relevant customer and get that person's feedback so that you can improve your product, rather than against the most tolerant customer who is going to be most forgiving of the follies of your product, the fundamental problems, basic issues with your product. Another important thing is constantly communicating the business case. Why are we doing what we're doing? This project is ultimately for a certain purpose, and I am accomplishing that purpose in these steps, and be able to track that in a very easy to understand and easy to explain manner. So I'd say that's broadly what I would expect engineers and engineering teams to think about when they're working for a company or on their own to build a brand new startup.
Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing those points, because I feel like when I first came across you and the work you're doing, this really stood out for me because we are a psychology technology podcast. And I feel that this kind of topic really stands in that intersection of psychology and technology, working with people and technology together. So I really enjoyed this. And if anyone is listening, I would recommend they go check out this article. But if for whatever reason they don't get around to it, what would you like them to take away from it? You mentioned many good points there, but the article goes into a lot of depth. Is there anything else that you wanted to add beyond what you just spoke about when it comes to the takeaway messages or the information shared in this article?
Sure. I'll say two things here for that, Sam. The first thing I'd mentioned, I think I briefly said, delivering early and often to make sure that you're iterating very quickly. I think I'd like for everybody, and I say repeat this for my team all the time, less but better, right? How do you deliver less but better? How do you focus on defining it in a manner where you're building a very small chunk and you're able to deliver that so that you can impact the customer quickly? The beauty of software is you can actually deliver something in a day. You could build a brand new product and put it in the hands of 1 million users in 2 months. And that is a pretty formidable force. I mean, that's a lot of power that software engineers have. Many people commit the mistake of just going on building these monoliths and saying that there's all of these dependencies that they have to factor in. Stay away from those mistakes. I think that's an important thing, whether you're a developer or somebody that manages developers or a business leader that is working with teams of developers. The driving underlying construct needs to be less but better, deliver quickly, and deliver for an end user's experience. So that's number one. Second thing I'll say is I've always divided software into two layers. Any product has a creative layer and a back-end layer, which I would call the engineering layer. I'll explain that for a minute. The creative layer is what companies ultimately end up selling. Those are those customized requirements, the workflows, the end user experience, what the end user touches and feels. That's where the ROI of the company ultimately lies. That's where they are making their money. The engineering piece, that's the infrastructure, the security, the compliance, some of the run-of-the-mill type rote elements like emailing, user management, authentication, authorization. These are extremely important for the functioning of the product, but you get no glory by building all of those pieces. Those I call the engineering pieces. Many companies and engineering teams commit the mistake of investing an enormous amount of time and energy to ineffectively and inefficiently build the engineering portion. You make no money by building the engineering portion. It's absolutely critical, but it is not where you make your money. So abstract out these two layers, the creative layer and the engineering layer. You could almost leverage a platform that provides all of that out of the box and use that for ensuring that you're able to build that resilient, highly available, scalable, secure, compliant platform on which you focus on that creative layer. Do not waste money, time, energy, and creative juices on the engineering portion, and do not get overly creative with the engineering portion. So that's something that I have always told business owners and engineers.
I think that's some solid advice, and I really do love that phrase, less but better. I think that that can be applied to so many situations. I'm definitely going to be stealing that as I move forward. So I really enjoyed that, and really the only other thing that I have to raise with you before we close the show is I'd love to know like what is the next for you folks there? What's on the horizon for BOS Framework?
We're growing very, very quickly, Sam. I've built many products. I've decided to dedicate all of my time to BOS because I feel that this is something that the world of development really needs. As you know, cloud ops is a very big problem in the world. Everybody is struggling with cloud operations. It's a very fuzzy world, and there are not very many people that are really good at cloud development. So we are providing this as a single platform solution that brings together provisioning, setup, compliance, security, and observability and ongoing maintenance all into one single platform. We're making it available as a single via a single interface. We look at this as a global possibility. So we want to ultimately have every business thrive because they can depend on BOS to have that security, that compliance, and that dependability.
Awesome, fantastic. Well, I really do wish you the best of luck. And I love your backstory. I love the way where you've come from really and how you've established this. And I want to thank you for sharing your story with our listeners. And if they do want to learn more about you, maybe either follow you personally or follow Boss, what's the best way for them to do that?
They can visit us on our website, BOS Framework, bosframework.com, or find us on LinkedIn. You can also find me on LinkedIn.
Excellent. Sashank, thank you so much for joining me today.
You bet. Thank you.
Growing a company has many hurdles, from securing funding to expanding your business capabilities to ranking better on search. Each business challenge is uniquely complex. The solution to these challenges is growth-focused digital PR and marketing, and that's where our sponsor Publicize comes in. Publicize sets itself apart from traditional PR companies. It does not charge large retainers or churns out press releases whether you've got a newsworthy announcement or not. Publicize builds on your business's online presence and gets high-quality PR and media coverage for startups and entrepreneurs who are priced out of a broken PR industry. And for a limited time only, exclusive to Brains Byte Back listeners, you can receive a social media assessment as part of your package for any tier of service at no extra charge with this special promotion. To find out more, visit publicize.co/BBB. That's publicize.co/BBB. This is the end of today's show. Thank you so much for listening. If you like this and you want to hear more episodes just like it, then follow and subscribe to Brains Byte Back wherever you get your podcasts. We're also available on YouTube under the channel of our publication, The Sociable. Just search Brains Byte Back and you'll find all of our episodes there. We really love hearing what you have to say, so leave us a review on iTunes or on any other podcasting platform to let us know what you think. You can also reach out on Twitter at The Sociable. And finally, go to sociable.co where you can find all our episodes and plenty of articles on topics just like this. Thanks again for joining us, and until next time, stay safe and stay healthy.